All right, everyone. Hi. Welcome to our virtual event today. I see the number of participants still rapidly climbing up, so we're not going to start just yet. But we are all so happy that you're joining us today on Zoom. We have a great panel to help you understand a little bit more about what it's like to be a Duke student and all the questions that you probably have as you're looking through a lot of college options. So as we get started here, I'd love for you to throw in the chat where you guys are zooming in from today. We're all here from Durham on Zoom today, but we would love to see where in the world you're joining us from. So feel free to throw that in the chat. Oh, I see someone else from Durham. That's awesome. Long Island, Indiana, North Carolina, Spain, Massachusetts, Brazil. Okay. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. Connecticut, Denver, UK. Wow. Okay. Virginia, Massachusetts. Okay, now I'm seeing a lot of Northeast, a lot of Texas. Awesome. Okay, really cool. And I also always like to ask, and the panelists that have been on a Zoom with me even this week know that I always love to ask this, but I love to know what everyone's currently watching on Netflix. I say it all the time, but I just finished watching Suits, which I absolutely loved, but that means it's time for me to find a new Netflix show. So I'd love to see what people are watching. And like panelists, what are you watching right now?
I have been rewatching one of my favorite shows. It's actually in Japanese. It's called Alice in Borderland. Think Squid Game, but like gorier and more fun, to be honest.
I've been on a Hulu kick, so not Netflix, but been
Okay.
watching Girl on Hulu.
Okay. Okay. Wow. I'm also seeing a lot of Suits in the chat, just trying to read these as they're coming in. And a lot of Gilmore Girls, specifically people saying they're rewatching Gilmore Girls, which is awesome. It's like that time of year, I think, when you want to be rewatching that show, just about fall time. Okay, awesome. So it's 2:03. So I think that the majority of people are here, but we're gonna get started. So first, hi, welcome to Duke, whether that's virtually or if you're zooming in from Durham, awesome. But welcome to Duke. My name is Catherine. I am the intern for the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. I'm a current junior here. I'm studying biomedical engineering with a certificate in innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm originally from Cranston, Rhode Island, so it's about 5 minutes outside of Providence and an hour outside of Boston. When I'm not working for admissions or giving tours of campus, I'm very involved in the Society of Women Engineers here. I've played 2 years on club soccer, and I've also been doing low-cost breast cancer treatment research. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to pass it off to our panelists to introduce themselves as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Taylor. I am a senior, originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I am a chemistry major with minors in biology and classical civilizations, and I'm also on the pre-med track. Okay, what else? Outside of doing tours, I am a part of the Club Equestrian team. I also volunteer at the Duke Hospital, and I'm also involved in 2 research opportunities here on campus. The first of which is in the chemistry department, where I track single molecules with lasers. And the second has more of a public health focus, where I look at how people choose their doctors.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly. I'm a junior from Miami, Florida. Right now, I'm majoring in public policy and sociology with a minor in education on a pre-law track. So apart from doing tours, I'm also a resident assistant for an upperclassman dorm. I'm a teaching assistant for an introductory public policy course, and I'm co-captain of brief writing and chair of diversity, equity, and inclusion for Duke Moot Court.
Hey y'all, my name is Kate. I'm originally from Davidson, North Carolina, which is about 2 hours away from campus. I am a sophomore studying biomedical engineering with a certificate in marketing management. And outside of admissions work, I am on our engineering student government, where I am class president and vice president of marketing communications. I am also an EGR 101 TA, also involved in SWE and the Biomedical Engineering Society, and also part of Duke Enable, which 3D prints prostheses for clients in the Durham community.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm a junior studying environmental science and policy and doing a minor in psychology. Originally, I'm from Singapore, but I've also spent time in Japan before moving here to Duke. Other than tour guiding, I am very involved in multicultural affairs on campus. I serve as the vice president of the Singaporean Students Association. I'm also part of 2 environmental policy / advocacy groups, namely Environmental Alliance and Duke Climate Coalition. And I currently work in a research lab studying the cognitive science behind memory and movement, particularly in dancers, but extending beyond to other forms of movement.
Awesome. So now you all know a little bit about our tour guides. So with that being said, this next hour is really dedicated to you guys and what you want to know about the Duke experience from our 4 panelists. So I'm going to encourage you to ask questions using the Q&A feature. So not the chat feature, but the Q&A feature. And you can put any questions, whether they're specifically targeted towards one of our panelists or just kind of overarching about the Duke experience. And we are going to get started with those questions right now. So the first question just came in, and I'm going to ask Taylor this question. And as a senior, you could probably answer this both as a freshman and an upperclassman. But what is dorm life like? Are you required to live on campus, and how does that really shape the experience here?
Yeah, so there's really 3 things that I want to touch on when it comes to this. The first is that you are required to live on campus for 3 years, but this is actually a really good thing. And this is going to lead me to points 2 and point 3. So point 2 is East Campus living is really community-based. You're going to be in one of our 14 East Campus dorms. They all have something that's very special to them, be that a special community space like the Trinity Movie Theater, or even a cafe in their basement. Additionally, they're all air conditioned, so rest assured, no matter what East Campus dorm you're placed in, ultimately, you will absolutely end up loving it. They end up having their own very distinct personalities. And the great thing now is through QuadX, you actually continue to live in that community for your sophomore year as well. However, you will be moving into one of our very newly renovated, which is very nice, West Campus dormitories. So those are called quads. When it comes to the quads, they're slightly bigger than the East Campus dorms. So for that reason, 2 East Campus dorms move into 1 West Campus quad. But with that, your sophomore year is going to be very much similar to the first in terms of the community that you're living in, and also the quality of the spaces. All of our West Campus quads and East Campus dorms are very high quality living spaces. The last thing that I don't want to neglect to mention is we also offer additional on-campus living styles for our juniors and seniors who choose to live on campus. Housing is always guaranteed, so no matter what, you will always have housing on Duke's campus if you want to. With that, you can choose to live in your West Campus quad again, which is actually what I did for my junior year. Go Kroll Crows. We have a lot of house spirit, us in Kroll. But with that, you can also choose to live in suite style living in our Hollows dormitory, or also in the Duke owned and operated Swift apartments as well. So you have a lot of different choices by the time you get to be a junior. And when you're a senior, you can ultimately choose to move off campus if you would like to. However, with that, about half of seniors choose to stay and about half choose to go. I actually am currently sitting in my off-campus apartment right now, so I am part of the category that choose to leave, but that is not out of a lack of love for Duke's dorms at all. I just want to learn how to be a baby adult before I'm expected to be an actual adult in medical school. With that, like being steps away from a 5-star dining hall, having housekeeping always there to clean up after me, I didn't have the accountability that I needed in terms of learning to do the adult thing for myself. So that's why I ultimately chose to move off campus. But having lived on West Campus for a very long time, I can speak very highly of my living experience there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great perspective to give, especially like now living off campus, but then having so many years of living on campus, which I'd say is definitely rare these days for colleges that require you to live on campus for 3 years. But somebody said to me, like, that's where the heart and soul of like the campus comes from. You want to live on campus because that's where everything's going on. So it's really nice that you know that every year 85% of our students are living on campus. So that's where you're going to find the people, and that's really awesome. All right, I'm going to ask the next question to Kelly. Can you describe a little bit about the freshman year transition? So this is a super broad question. Take it how you want it, but that's pretty much the general question here.
I'm going to assume that it's talking about the transition from high school to freshman year. So that
I would
experience
assume as well. Yes.
yeah, okay. So the freshman experience at Duke is really unique. There's something called orientation week, which is the week before classes start, where all freshmen move to East Campus and you guys do a lot of community bonding, a lot of networking with students in your class. And it's just a week of really fun activities. Something that they implemented this year was pre-orientation groups. So you're assigned to a specific subset of groups where you're partnered up with upperclassmen and people that have the same interests as you. And you just do activities with that group, and then you do activities with the entire freshman class. So I don't remember what it's called, but I know they have like one where they do like construction and like volunteering, and then there's other ones that integrate you with the Durham community, and you should go to like the baseball games and stuff like that. And then there's also a group that goes hiking and they like stay in the forest and like camp and don't shower for a few days. But like, those are people that want to do that. So there's a lot of little niche interest groups that you get to participate in orientation week. And that's really to help you transition to moving away from home and being away from your family, which is really difficult for a lot of students. And it's just to make that out in the open, make sure that everybody's aware that we're all going through the exact same things and that we could lean on each other for support and lean on your roommates and people in your pre-orientation group or just people in the entire freshman class for support during this transition. You're also partnered up with like kind of like student advisors who kind of teach you like the niche of East Campus. You get like a little Duke East Campus tour guide from your resident assistants in your residence halls. And there's just a lot of support systems that are being introduced to you in this first week. And you can always reach out to these people like later on in the school year. So these are just kind of people that are going to be information that you're going to get during the orientation week that you can lean on further into the year. So Duke's really aware that, orientation or, moving away from home is really difficult. I moved from Miami, so that's like a 13-hour drive. So first week of moving here was really hard for me, but I definitely felt like all of the resources that Duke provides you with really makes that transition easier. And also knowing that the people around you are going through that and then having those types of bonding experiences like the or for me, class of 25 picture or your class picture where everyone goes and like lines up in like, your class year. And that's where you can meet a lot of people. And then there's like a fair and it's just a lot of fun activities that you get to participate in. But yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. All right. Next question is coming to Kate. There was a question that was more like a comment that said both BME students on this call are also pursuing certificates. Can you talk a little bit more about certificates? When do you declare those and why did you choose to do one?
Yeah, so my certificate is in markets and management, which is obviously not a part of the Pratt School of Engineering at all. So you'll find that it's either really easy to do like your interdisciplinary studies between Pratt and Trinity, whether that's like double majoring, major minor, or a major certificate, which is what I'm doing. So basically, you declare your major in sophomore year, and that's when you can also apply or declare to a certificate program. So I have like technically applied to mine. And I start taking classes for that next semester. And what a certificate is it's Duke unique, and it's basically what I say is in the middle of a major and a minor. So a major is obviously X amount of credits, like BME for me is 34 credits. And then a minor is usually anywhere from like 5 to 6 credits. But my certificate is 7 courses. And so for markets and management, I'm going to take 2 MMS or markets management studies courses, as well as 4 electives like sociology, international business, econ, finance, and then another core elective within that, just because mine specifically is looking at the intersection of like marketing and consumer behavior. So yeah, it's really easy to do interdisciplinary studies at Duke. And since mine is way different from my major, I found that I really enjoy it, and I'm just excited to continue on with it.
Yeah, I had a pretty similar experience. I said that I was doing the innovation and entrepreneurship certificate. So pretty similar to Kate, like it's more of a business-centered certificate rather than engineering. It's really cool because the kids in my certificate program come from everything from like public policy majors to engineers to natural science majors to philosophy majors. So it's really cool that everyone's kind of interested in the entrepreneurship kind of track and what you can learn from a lot of different people. But same thing, I started taking those courses about halfway through my sophomore year. And the cool thing about certificates as well is sometimes they have another like element added to it. So I have to have some type of like fieldwork experience and have to make a portfolio based on my experience as part of completing that certificate. So yeah, they're very interdisciplinary, and a lot of students here definitely try to do certificates. Now I'm going to pass it off to Sarah. A question that came along was, how did you get involved in your research? I know you talked a little bit about what it's about, but maybe if you could tell us how long you've been involved in it, how you got involved in it for everyone looking to do research.
Absolutely. So I actually only just joined my current lab about a month ago. So I'm still in the very early stages and getting used to what we're studying and what I'm doing as a research assistant. But how I got involved was I used a platform called Muser. Muser is basically a common application that allows principal investigators, professors, researchers to post their projects publicly, and allows students to apply to, I believe, a maximum of 3 per application cycle. So that way you really get to explore a variety of options. For me, this round, I only applied to one lab, and fortunately I got into said lab. But so far it has been super enjoyable. I've gotten to know my the professor who's in charge of the lab really well. We have weekly meetings, and we pretty much work individually and independently under the guidance of our mentors, of course.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to go back to Taylor. There are a lot of questions in the chat about pre-med. Can you talk a little bit just about your pre-med experience in general? Sure.
Yeah, no, of course. So very quickly, a little bit of context. I did not actually come into Duke as pre-med. I did not know that I wanted to be pre-med until roughly the end of my freshman year. So I did not come in like some people did, being like, yes, I am a pre-med. But with that, I am still on track to graduate, take one gap year, and then go right into medical school. So that is a fairly traditional path for a Duke student, taking that one gap year. However, people who come in and are fairly sure that they want to be pre-meds very often end up not having to take that gap year unless they want to, for whatever reason, be that more experience, more work on their test scores, more time to work on their essays, whatever that may be. With that, I will say, I really appreciated that Duke is not a school that has something like a pre-med major, because I like to joke that everyone at Duke who is pre-med is actually pre-med plus. You're never just a pre-med, you're always pre-med and, so I'm pre-med and chemistry, but I was actually almost pre-med and classical civilizations. That department nearly had me converted into their major program. But with that, I will say, being a pre-med at Duke is always going to be something that is very interdisciplinary, but in a way that will ultimately help you be more successful on your applications. My pre-med advisor is great. I have Mr. Robert Jones. He is incredible. He makes sure that I complete all of my coursework that I'm supposed to be a pre-med, but also that I'm just having fun, getting the experiences that I'm hopefully going to write about for my essays, things like that. So when it comes to being pre-med at Duke, the world is really your oyster, because we have people who are math majors in pre-med, people who are chemistry or biology majors are a pre-med. Even one of my good friends is actually classical civilizations and pre-med. So with that, I hope that was a good little overview of pre-med life at Duke, and I'm happy to speak more about any part of that experience. Just write my name in the question in the chat, and I'll try to get to them all.
Great, thank you. And now, Kelly, something kind of specific. There were a lot of questions about the public policy major. And one question specifically said, does that give you opportunities in Durham as well? So if that's through like classes or extracurriculars that have to do with public policy. So can you talk a little bit about your academic program?
Yeah, so Duke has a School of Public Policy, Sanford School of Public Policy. So it's not just a department. There's an entire graduate program dedicated to public policy. What that means is that there are a lot of resources and faculty that are just for public policy majors. So the majority of your classes as a pub pol major is in the Sanford School of Public Policy. Something that I like about that is just being surrounded by people who are studying the same thing as you, and then also being able to network with graduate students who have a more developed understanding of the public policy major. And now, like for the Durham involvement, there are service learning classes that give you the opportunity to engage and involve yourself in the Durham community. So one of the things I'm doing right now for one of my classes is I'm tutoring at a place called Student U, which is a tutoring company by North Carolina Central University, where we tutor under-resourced Hispanic and Latinx and African American students. So that's just one of the many tutoring opportunities or volunteer opportunities in the Durham community. I would say that's one thing that Duke is really trying to develop now, is to kind of get us to be more integrated with the Durham community, and having these partnerships with local organizations makes it a lot easier to have that transition. Something else that I do for Pub Paul is I volunteer at the Orange County Teen Court. So I'm a pre-law mentor for the students that are involved in that program. So Duke has a lot of advisors that can help you partner you up with these organizations if you're not taking a service learning course. Let me preface this: service learning is just like a part of some Duke courses that requires you to volunteer in the community as part of your overall credit. So you can have that as part of your grade, but if you don't have a service learning course, then you can just do it on your own time. And I would say that the Stanford School of Public Policy advisors really help you find these connections so that you can involve yourself in that community. And there's also a lot of campaigning and advocacy groups in Durham that you can be a part of. And then just to kind of like a little bit talk about Duke Engage. Duke Engage is an 8-week opportunity that usually happens in the summer. And there's a lot of public policy Duke Engage opportunities to get rid of like an internship requirement that you have for the major. And they just started a new one. I think it was last year, to have it for this summer, that you could stay in the Durham community and do public policy and education policy. So they're starting to integrate it into the more formal and like broad programs that Duke has. So it's not just in service learning courses. Now we're starting to introduce like 8-week services that you can do with Durham as well.
Great, thank you. Kate, next question is for you. I know you're really involved in engineering student government. There were some student government questions in general, and it said, what does student government do on Duke's campus? And I'll also extend that to say, what does the engineering student government do?
Yeah, perfect. Good question. So engineering student government serves Pratt students mainly, just because it is the Pratt School of Engineering. So I'll get into that a little bit later. But as a school for both Trinity School of Arts and Sciences and the Pratt School of Engineering, we have something called Duke Student Government, or DSG. And they do a lot of work just around campus, not only with hosting like social events with DUU or Duke University Union, but they also do a lot of like advocacy work and a lot of trying to just reform the academic space and sector in general. So I can't really speak to them. It's huge though. We have like senators, they like vote on different things. Maybe one of the other panelists can give you a better description. But for engineering student government in particular, we have elections, and then we also just try to make the Pratt School of Engineering just more equitable for every engineer, whether that be through social events or whether that be through trying to reform some of the like infamously like bad Pratt classes. Just to make it not only like an easier transition in the Pratt School of Engineering, but also just wanting people to know like there is a community, and ESG and DSG alike, I think, do a very good job of that. So yeah.
Awesome. Sarah, next question for you. It says, what is the international student presence on campus? You can also answer that how you feel best, whether it's with a number or with more of what your experience has been like.
All right, well, in terms of numbers, it's estimated to be about 11%, I believe, but it really feels a lot bigger than that because a lot of people here are sort of third culture kids and have a lot of global experience, whether their nationality is international or not. In terms of involvement, the international community is constantly putting on different events, cultural festivals, just simple bonding meals. Personally, I have a lot of experience with the Singaporean Students Association because I serve on the executive board for that. And a lot of what we do is actually just organize bi-weekly dinners or events for both the Singaporean community and the wider Duke community. Oftentimes we get over 70 people there. There are definitely not 70 Singaporeans at Duke, but it's really great to both share our culture and learn more about other people's cultures, typically over food, because food is a very big part of Singaporean culture as well. But other groups like Duke Dia, which is the South Asian group, Asian Students Association, Mi Gente, and the Black Students Association, they put on their own individual events. Some are larger than others. ASA, from what I know, ASA puts on an annual showcase that showcases Asian style arts, especially in performing arts, but they also invite in some multicultural performing arts groups to also engage with that.
Awesome. Thank you. We're going to go back to Taylor now. A few questions popped up in the chat about the Focus program. So some of the people on this Zoom call with us know what Focus is, but I'm sure that the large majority don't really know what that means. So I know you participated in Focus. Can you explain a little bit about what that program's like and what your experience was with it?
Yeah, for sure. So the Focus program is designed for incoming first years. And the best way that I can explain it is almost like a living and learning community surrounded by like a general topic. So there's going to be a whole list of these different programs. I think the website is like focus.duke.edu or some variation of that, where you can see them all. But there are these living communities that are surrounded by a topic. Mine in particular was the genetics and genomics focus, which I really, really loved. So I'll talk a little bit about how that was organized, but all of them are structured very similarly. So the way that this worked was I applied, I believe, somewhere around May after I'd received my acceptance. With that, I applied to a specific program, but I also picked out which classes in that program that I thought were the coolest. Because in a Focus program, you're actually going to take 2 classes in that program with the other people who are a part of it. So the 2 that I ended up taking were Genomics of Symbiosis, which was taught by Francois Lezzoni. He's amazing. And then I also took Genetics and Epigenetics, which was taught by Beth Sullivan, and she was also incredible. And she was actually the head of the program at the time. So with that, you're going to be living in the same dormitory as all of the other people in your Focus. They probably won't be your roommate. They'll probably just be like on your hall or in the building. But it really is designed so that you're living with the same people, taking classes with the same people, and actually having once weekly dinners with the same people as well. Every Focus has what's called the half credit seminar section. My Focus brought in special guests once a week. It was like Tuesday nights at 7 or something like that. And we would get to like sit down and eat dinner with like some of the most respected and renowned people in the field of genetics and genomics, which was amazing. So whatever topic like speaks to you on that website, the experience will ultimately be very similar. You're going to be living with people who share a common interest. You're going to be taking classes with them. And you're also going to be getting to have dinners with them and talk with some of the best people in the field, which is incredible. Now, last but not least, I want to mention for the Focus program, the classes are actually capped at 18. And I believe that the total number of people allowed in any one Focus is somewhere between 36 and 40 people. I believe the number of students who end up participating is about like 25% of the incoming first years end up doing a Focus. Feel free to correct me on that, Catherine, if that's not accurate anymore. It once was, but okay, good. It's still correct. So yeah, with that, you can apply to whichever of them speak to you. I highly recommend the experience because I actually still live with 3 of the girls who were in my Focus freshman year. So that's that.
That's a really good fun fact that you guys all were in the same Focus freshman year, and that really carried through. I think that the living aspects of the Focus people speak really highly of, even though you're probably not direct roommates with someone. Just seeing those faces like in the hallways of your dorm is really like reassuring that you're seeing the same faces a lot during your freshman year. So that's awesome. Okay, we're completely going to switch gears now. And I know we talked a lot about the academic programs at Duke. whether that's through classes or research. But now we're going to talk about some more of the fun stuff. A lot of questions about club sports are in the chat. So I think this actually might go back to Taylor, but I know you said you're doing club equestrian, if that's correct. So
Yeah.
how do you get involved in club sports? Do a lot of people do club sports?
Yeah, so lots of people do club sports. A few important things to note about club sports. You actually don't need any experience to play a club sport here at Duke. They're like an intermediate level of commitment, so it's not like you're playing D1, right? But it's also not like an intramural where you just show up whenever you feel like it, sort of a pickup basketball type of vibe. Instead, it's more formal, like 1 to 2 practices per week. For the equestrian team, it's 1. And with that, you sort of travel around the region, you play other schools that are sort of in the area, be that like competitions or tournaments or whatever. And with that, it is pretty easy to get involved. The easiest way to get involved is probably just by going to the club fair, which is held every fall, either in late August or early September. And that's where pretty much every single club that is active on campus gets a table, and they all set up on like the main quad of East Campus. And you just walk around and like introduce yourself to different clubs, see if there's different things that you're interested in. And so pretty much every club sport, to my knowledge, had a table. I know that Club Equestrian did because one of my best friends is the president, so she was there manning it. But with that, you can just get yourself signed up for the email list. You just write your name down at the table, and then you'll get emails about like when the practices are. You'll get notifications about when things like the due payments are ultimately coming around, because typically there is some sort of fee associated with playing a club sport. However, there is something called the Gorder Scholarship as well that is specific for club sports. So if there's ever a cost barrier for you playing a sport, you can apply to that, and they'll make sure that you get the funding to make that possible. So I really love being on Club Equestrian. We have a great team. I love all the girls and the guys as well. We have a few horse guys as well, which we love. But with that, I think that that's hopefully a good summary of club sports. I'm happy to answer any more specific questions that anyone has as well.
Thank you. Now I am going to pass it off to Kelly. A lot of questions in the chat about Durham. What's it like living in Durham? What is there to do for fun in Durham? If you can answer that, that would be awesome.
I would say for Durham, something that I really appreciate now as a junior are the seasons. So being from Miami, it was summer all year round. So my first year at Duke was like fantastic in the sense that it was really hot when we got on campus, but then like it was like October 1st and now it's 60 degrees and the leaves turn orange and everything's super pretty and it looks straight out of a movie. And then right around winter, it gets a lot colder, which I was not used to being in like 20, 30 degree weather. And it snowed my freshman year, which was the first time I'd ever seen snow, even though it was like 3 inches. So like to people that actually see snow, it's not snow, but to me, it was worth a lot. And then around March, February, the trees get their flowers again and everything's nice and pretty. So I'd say the seasons is really unique to Durham, maybe because I'm not from here, but I really appreciate that. And then how I was talking about earlier about engaging with the Durham community, just being able to volunteer in the Durham community is really like self-fulfilling. It's really nice just helping out, especially because I do a lot of stuff with child policy and youth engagement. So it's really self-fulfilling to be able to help like the younger generation out and be a mentor to them. But in terms of like leisure things in the Durham community, I would say that like the Triangle, which is what we're called, is known for its food and just the wide range of like different cultures that you can kind of like dip your spoon in. So right next to East Campus is 9th Street. That's like a block or two away from East Campus. And I'd say that that's where I spent most of my freshman year. And just trying every single restaurant that was from a walkable distance. And then now that I'm an upperclassman and I'm able to have my car on campus, I'm able to kind of explore like the further ranges of Durham. And some of the other things that I do in the area is there's a bowling spot, Bolero, which is like 10 minutes away. So I do go bowling all the time with my friends. There's also mini golfing. There's a lot of movie theaters in the area if you're into like cinema and theater and all of that. And then like you could do stuff with your friends. If you want to stay right on campus, we have Duke Gardens, which has a lot of Durham members in it. So it's just this really, really big area that could probably fit its own campus in it. And it just has a lot of nature and a lot of really pretty flowers and a lot of little scenic spots. And a lot of people of the Durham community go there. And something about the Durham community is that they're really welcoming and they really do like having conversations with Duke students. So just sitting there, having a picnic with your friends, you turn to your neighbor and you can have a really good conversation with someone that's actually from the area. And then if you go to downtown Durham, there's a lot of restaurants and other cool activities, but also there, something that I think Durham should be known for is just how hospitable the people are and how willing they are to like entertain a conversation with you. So you could ask them about the community, ask them like, what is there to do around here? And they're really happy to talk about their neighborhood and talk about the opportunities that you can do here.
Yes, that's awesome. I agree with all of that. Ninth Street is really a big part of the freshman year experience. That's like right what you hit when you walk right off of campus. I also like to plug my favorite thing to do in Durham is to go to the Durham Farmers Market on Saturday mornings. You'll always find a ton of Duke students there. I see some people laughing, but yes, like everyone really goes there on Saturday mornings. I usually get some cute like flowers for my dorm. A lot of food vendors go, so it's a really good place to go on a Saturday morning. And I know that Kelly also alluded to the Triangle area, which is comprised of Durham, Chapel Hill, and Raleigh. A lot of great concerts come in the area, which I think I mentioned I'm originally from Rhode Island, so I never really had like huge names coming in state for concerts back home. But since I've been at Duke, I'm a huge country music fan. I went to go see Sam Hunt a few weeks ago. I'm going to go see Luke Bryan in a few weeks. I've seen One Republic here. So it's really fun venturing into Raleigh with your friends to go see some like big name concerts too. So that's all accessible to you in the area, which is really fun. I just wanted to plug that. But I'm going to move on to Kate now. I really like this question. How big of a role do you think athletics play in the social life here?
Yeah, so coming from someone who cannot play a sport to save her life, I do love watching sports. And so I literally try to go to every sporting event I can. Duke has a long, long history with sports, especially basketball. And growing up in Davidson, it's where Davidson College and like Steph Curry's from. So, I've been a basketball girl since day one. But so I try to go to every game for that. And last year was my freshman year, and I decided I want to go 4 for tenting. And if anyone knows what tenting is, basically once a year there is a Duke UNC home game. And at a lot of schools, it's really hard to get tickets for games just due to like school size. But since our stadium, Cameron Indoor, can basically host as many students as Duke has, and obviously everyone wants to go to the Duke UNC game, what we do is something called tenting, which is for last year, it was like 3.5 weeks. Me and a group of 11 other people took a test on Duke basketball season, like history for that season. And then the top 80 teams get to tent, which is basically living in a tent in Kville, which is like our athletic complex, for those 3.5 weeks. And I did what is called black tenting, which is the longest amount of time, but we also have blue and white tenting, which are a little less strenuous. And that was just really cool because there was such like a palpable energy of like excitement in Kville for the whole month leading up to it. It's really fun because it's like a shared experience, once it hits 26 degrees at night and it's like 4 a.m. and there's a tent check, which just basically ensures that like everyone in your tent is there to continue like tenting. Once it hits that, you really do bond with the people around you and like the tents around you all waking up in the middle of the night. So that has been really fun. And I think that's a really good like admission of our sports culture. But this year, also something that I've been doing is getting more involved in football, trying to learn about that. Last weekend, for example, we had college game day, and me and my friends decided to be insane and just sleep outside at 2:30 a.m. to get front row to game day, which opened at like 6 or 6:30 a.m. And that has been one of my favorite memories at Duke. Everyone's like delirious, trying to like hold a conversation at 4 a.m. And that game against Notre Dame was really fun. So I would say overall, you can make sports as big or as little as a role as possible. But if you love sports, Duke is definitely a great place for you. And if you love football now, which is something I never thought I'd say. But yeah, hopefully that was a good overview. Okay, Taylor, go off. I see you.
Yeah, it's been definitely super exciting. Everyone goes to the football games now. Definitely nice to have that sports presence in the fall and in the spring. I'd say a lot of schools favor one semester over the other, but Duke definitely has both, which is really, really fun. Sarah, I think Kelly talked a little bit about the food off campus in Durham, but how's the food on campus?
Yes, yes, this is my favorite thing to talk about. Of course, coming from Singapore, I'm a big foodie. Um, Duke's dining is absolutely incredible in my opinion, especially for a college campus. Over at our main dining hall on West Campus, which we call WU, like WU, stands for West Union, don't know why. There are 13 different eateries and they're all pretty varied in the type of cuisine that they offer. So we have things like poke bowls, Italian, Latin American tables, Southern roast and chops, South Asian, and of course your like salads and things like that. Um, my personal favorite is this one called Ginger and Soy. And they serve like little Asian fusion rice bowls and poke bowls and ramen, and it's really good. My new up and coming favorite though just opened this semester. It's called Gothic Grill. Um, and their food is really good. They have like burgers and tacos. I really like their mac and cheese, their buffalo mac and cheese. It is bomb. It is so good. So yeah, obviously I'm a huge fan personally. There are also tons of really nice cafes that I love to study at. My favorite would be, I never know how to pronounce it, Seisu over at Wilkinson Building, which is in the engineering sort of building on campus. And I usually get like a light snack or like a yogurt and a good old morning coffee there whenever I go.
Yep, that's also a fan favorite spot of mine. Scott over there who runs the coffee bar.
Scott is the best.
Scott makes a good cup of coffee, I must say. So yeah, that's also amongst the engineers definitely a fan favorite of a place to grab your morning coffee. I'm going to go back to Taylor now. And I know that you personally, I don't think have studied abroad, but as a senior, I'm sure a ton of your friends have studied abroad. So can you talk a little bit about the study abroad experience?
Yeah, so two of my friends that I live with have studied abroad, so I'm just gonna like try and channel them quickly for the next few minutes. With that, I do want to touch on a few of the different study abroad opportunities that Duke offers. So there are both Duke in programs that are like designed by Duke for Duke students. They're typically led by a Duke professor, very Duke on the whole. And there's also Duke approved programs that were designed by, or not designed by Duke, sorry, but Duke looked at it and said, we like it, it's okay, we'll transfer the credits back, that whole thing. With that, both of my friends actually did Duke in programs. One of them went to, I'm going to say this wrong, she calls it Aix, France. I don't know if it's actually I'm so sorry. I've never spoken a word of French in my entire life. But she went over there for 6 weeks of the summer to finish off some of her French credits, which was really fun. She spoke very highly of the experience. It was a pretty small group that went over there. They sort of went all around the south of France and got to have a lot of different experiences. I know she raved about the food and also the cheese. With that, my second friend, who I also live with, she went to Oxford to do a neuroscience program through Duke, which was pretty cool. I honestly don't know much about it besides that, other than she really enjoyed it. But a few of the other really popular programs that people I know, like friends of friends, have done as well, are things like Duke in Copenhagen, things like Duke in Sydney, which is pretty popular among engineers, I think, as well. Engineers, maybe fact check me on that. Yes, I'm seeing nods. Great. Um, and then Duke in Madrid is also a very popular program as well. So we pretty much have programs on every continent except Antarctica. And if you want to be the first to go to Antarctica, all you have to do is petition a program to the Global Education Office, and I'm sure they will work with you to make that happen. But with that, there are tons to choose from, and I'm sure you'll find something that floats your boat. And if you don't, you can make one and appeal it. So that's that.
Cool. Yeah, I would say the most common semester to go abroad is junior fall. I also saw that question in the chat. But there is flexibility of when you would like to go abroad. I have a friend that's planning on going abroad twice. So if your schedule allows for it, you can also do that. But yeah, study abroad is definitely a big deal here, and a lot of students do take advantage of it. I'm now going to go back to Kelly. And there was a question, and it said, like, how flexible is the freshman year schedule? And I also saw other questions hinting at like a core curriculum. So if you want to like kind of go over what the non-engineering Trinity College of Arts and Sciences, how you deal with requirements and what freshman year kind of looks like.
Yeah, of course. So for liberal arts majors, I would say it is pretty flexible, especially freshman year, because you don't have to declare until sophomore spring. So core classes or core curriculum at Duke for Trinity looks like having something called modes of inquiry and areas of knowledge, which are kind of like really general requirements. So you have to do 2 quantitative studies classes. What you do to fulfill that requirement is up to you. You could do stats, you could do math, you could do computer science, you could do some sociology classes that offer that fulfillment for you. And then there's just, I would say, kind of how you see it in a lot of other schools in terms of, quantitative studies. And then there's like a theater component kind of, but it's not really theater, but you could do like African American studies to fill that. It's like literature, something like that. So you could do African American studies, you could do cinema, you could do dance, you could do music. So there's kind of like the general requirements that you would typically see at most schools. However, there's a lot of freedom in what classes you actually want to take to fulfill that requirement. So me, I'm a junior, I've never taken a math class. I don't like math, so I've never had to take a math class. I've never taken a math class, and I don't intend on taking a math class. My quantitative studies requirement were fulfilled with stats, and I'm going to take a computer science, not even intro level, like below intro level, because I am so awful at math and I hate it. So for all of those non-STEM folks, like that's definitely something that you could do and still graduate. And on the other side of the spectrum, you do have like kind of like basic requirements like writing 101, which is a requirement for freshmen. So that is something that you have to do freshman year. But what you want to do for writing 101 is up to you. There's a lot of different niche little areas that you could do for writing 101. I did one called Liberation Ecology, which was on environmental science. So that was a lot of fun, something that I would not have necessarily taken had they not just told me like take whatever class you want. So that's a really good thing about freshman year is that you can kind of just dip your toes in a lot of different courses and see what you like. I came in wanting to do public policy and global health. I took Global Health 101. I was like, too sciencey for me. So I dropped it. And the good thing is I hadn't declared. And I was also able to take sociology electives. And that's where I fell in love with sociology. And I decided to double major in public policy and sociology instead of in global health. So you don't have any requirements that are kind of like strung to you other than writing 101 and a seminar course, which just means kind of like a smaller, more intimate course where you talk more than you take exams or write and stuff like that. So you just have to do one at some point freshman year. But getting into the classes is relatively easy, and your advisors will make sure that you actually fulfill that requirement. But what you actually want to do to fulfill the requirement is completely up to you, and you don't have to take classes that you don't want to. Me, no math, never gonna take math. And on the other side, like if there's something that you really don't want to do, no one's gonna force you to do it as long as you find something else to fulfill that requirement.
Great, thank you. I always learn like a thing or two about the T-Rex, the Trinity requirements. Pratt's a whole different ballgame, so I never put in the time to really understand what the T-Rex kind of consist of, but that's a really good way to explain it. The next question, we're gonna have time for a few more, but I'm gonna pass it over to Kate. Can you talk a little bit about the competitive versus collaborative nature of Duke, what your experience has been, particularly in engineering?
Yeah, for sure. Also, like being in y'all's position, that was like one of the main questions I had. So hopefully I give it a good enough answer. But I would definitely say Duke in general is very, very collaborative. I never experienced, or I never thought I would experience like going into engineering and like having it traditionally be like deemed as like cutthroat. I never thought it'd be as collaborative as it is. Like all of my best friends were all BME or MECE majors in Pratt, and literally they are willing to work on anything, any assignment together that you can work together on. And they're always like other students are like what I go to first to like explain hard concepts or like Kelly was saying, I also don't like math. So, having a lot of like of my peers help me with math has been really great. And also just in general, all of our professors hold office hours and they're truly, truly amazing. Something that I really love about Duke is that they really stress like connecting with your professors through different programs. We'll probably talk about one of those later, but one of those is like lunch, where you get to have like a free lunch on Duke. You have 2 of them a semester, you take your professors out and you really get to like know them as people, which I think is something that Duke stresses that's really unique. But on top of that, each class has multiple TAs. All TAs also hold their office hours. So there's a lot of support, not only academically, but emotionally. And overall, it's extremely collaborative. Another example of this is if you're in Pratt, you have to take this class called Engineering 101 your freshman fall. And that is where you and a group of 4 to 5 other Pratt students, you collaborate on an actual need that someone, like a client in the Durham community needs. For example, my project was creating a vibrating handbell grip, like a handbell choir, you know, like at churches or something, for students with Down syndrome. And that was really cool. We got to meet our client, we got to meet the students that our product is actually being used by. And overall, that was just, I feel like, a very good example of just the overall collaborative nature of not only Pratt, but as Duke as a whole. Also, sorry, Catherine is not. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just needed to grab a drink of water, but thank you. All right, I think we're gonna do one more question and then we're gonna do our little wrap up. But Sarah, if you can just touch very broadly about the arts at Duke. I know your research has to do with the arts, but other opportunities to engage with the arts on campus.
Absolutely. So you can engage with arts both academically and recreationally. On the recreational level, a lot of students love to join arts clubs such as theater, dance, a cappella, other types of music. So there's a really wide variety. And not only that, you don't have to be in a club to really enjoy the arts. There are plenty of performances that are constantly being put on, especially at the Durham Performing Arts Center. We also have many facilities dedicated to the arts, like the Rubenstein Art Center, the Arts Annex, and the Nasher Art Museum. But on the club level, at least, personally, I actually got involved in the arts in a very funny way. Freshman spring, I saw this poster up on a wall in my dorm asking for help with hair and makeup, which is something that I kind of know how to do. Like, I'm okay at it. And I had a bit of free time, so I decided to do it. And it turned out to be for Hoof and Horn, which is our student-run musical theater group. And they were putting on a production of Into the Woods. Because it was during COVID, a lot of the stage crew actually came down with COVID and had to go into quarantine. But then I got dragged into doing stage management, and it turned out to be one of the best experiences of my life. I got to push Milky the cow on stage every show. During the encore, I would ride Milky the cow. So it was insanely fun. And that's just one example of how you can really get involved. A lot of the arts clubs do have tryouts and auditions at the start of the fall semester especially, but also during the spring semester. And also have like open workshops and classes every now and then.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great way to end on questions, but we have about 5 to 7 minutes left. So how we usually wrap up all of our virtual tours, all of our in-person tours, and all of our admissions events in general is telling you why we as current Duke students once chose Duke as a prospective student. So I'm gonna hand it over back to Taylor to tell everyone her why Duke story. And hopefully something that you've heard over the past hour can resonate with you and maybe why you can see yourselves here at Duke as well. So Taylor, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Awesome, thank you. So my story requires a little bit of background context. So first things first, I was never a dream school kind of girl. I was a girl with a spreadsheet. I'm sure there's a few of you out in our audience today. With that, I wanted to send my applications out. I wanted to get them back. I wanted to feel the love. Like I knew what I wanted, but I also had no idea what I wanted in a college. I wanted that list to choose from, right? But then COVID happened, right? When I was a senior, that March of that senior year, everything just went right downhill. And with that, I had all these acceptances back and I had absolutely no idea what the heck I was going to do with them, right? Because I had not really gotten to know people from these places. And now I couldn't even travel to go see them. And that was something that really bothered me because I'm also an only child. The graduating class size from my junior kindergarten to 12th grade private school was 62 students. So this is important because I hadn't had to make friends since I was like 4 or 5 years old, right? I didn't even know if I was capable of doing that anymore. I'd gone to school with these people literally forever. So with that, I luckily stumbled upon what I would call the most chaotic good place on the internet, which was the Duke Class of 2024 GroupMe group chat. I found it through the Facebook group for admitted students, and I was so glad that I did because these people were immediately so invested in me as a person. They wanted to have Zoom calls to meet me and to chat before any of us had even decided that we wanted to go to Duke. They wanted to debate for days whether or not water was wet. Yes, this was a real conversation. And the arguments were actually insane. Like there was like a future chemistry major in there who was talking about water molecules saturating other water molecules, right? Because like the definition wet means saturation by water, right? So there was a lot of intense opinions on both sides of that water is wet argument. And I feel like it really just demonstrates both how passionate Duke students are, how witty they are, and how much they just generally care. And we have that care for each other. We have that care for things that are silly debates and group chats, but we also have that care for our community as well. And I think that if you do get the chance to set foot on campus, you'll feel that as well. When I ultimately came to campus, everything that I had thought virtually was absolutely true. And I've not once regretted my decision, even though it still sounds insane to say that I ended up choosing Duke because of the GroupMe app. But it is absolutely true. That is all for me. I will pass it to, I think, Kelly next.
Okay, so I have like two why Duke stories, but I'm gonna do my shorter one. So for my why Duke is that I applied during a COVID year, or I guess it was like the year after COVID. It was 2021, 2021. So there weren't any tours or anything like that, but I was also a spreadsheet girly. I had like my reach, or was it like reach goal, whatever. So Duke was a reach. I did not think I was gonna get in, but I was shooting for the stars, and I was like, YOLO, I'm gonna apply. I don't think I met the I don't think I meet the qualifications that I'm gonna apply because I think I'd look good in Duke blue. So, I applied and I got a likely letter, and immediately I was like, Mom, like we have to go visit. Like I have to see this place in person. So I was able to fly out for a weekend to visit Duke on campus in like March or something like that. And I just remember walking on campus and seeing everybody wearing Duke blue. And I was like, wow, like I would look so good in that. And I was like, why is nobody wearing anything but Duke blue on campus right now? Like, why is everybody wearing Duke merch? I was like, is it being given out for free? Like, what's going on? And I was able to speak to people on campus because Duke students love talking about Duke. And they were like, no, we just, like wearing our school merch. And I was like, oh, that's great. So that was one of the things that was being able to be in a community where everybody's proud of where they're coming from and proud of the community that we're a part of. So another thing is a few weeks ago, my friends from Miami flew to Duke for the first time to visit me, and they were like, why is everybody wearing Duke blue? And I was like I told you, I was like, I'm not making this up. Everybody wears Duke blue. And then another thing that I did during the application process is I went on the Duke University Instagram. And something that I like is that they keep posting their students. They post their students' accomplishments. The student affair page lets students talk about themselves. And if you go on like going for your department or your major for Stanford, they post the accomplishments of their students. And I was like, not only do I want to be a part of a community that I'm proud of and I'm proud to show off, but I want to be a part of a community that's proud to show me off and can give me a pat on the back because I did something good or I succeeded or I made an accomplishment. And that's something that you definitely see being radiated on like a lot of the social media pages that Duke has. And then also on campus, just a lot of professors giving you a pat on the back and giving you, yeah, you're doing a good job. And having that sort of encouragement was something that I really wanted from the university that I chose. So, when my friends came and they were talking about how everybody's wearing Duke blue, it kind of just like, made me nostalgic of like the Duke application process and like how that was my mentality, and just someone who's not a part of the Duke community can see the community that we have. And then they also started wearing the Duke blue for that weekend. So you just feel that sense of community, and it radiates, and you feel compelled to be a part of it, even if you don't actually go here. So it's just it's a tight knit little family that we have over here.
Okay, well, I don't quite know how to follow that because that was really good. But I'll try to keep mine short. But basically, as I said before, I am from North Carolina. I'm from 2 hours from campus. So I obviously knew what Duke was, what UNC was, what NC State was. And my older sister, who's 4 years older than me, she's there like my role model. If I can be like half the person she is, I would be a happy camper, even though I cannot camp for my life. So she went to UNC and she was pre-med. I visited her all throughout her 4 years. I loved the campus. It just didn't feel like my place. It was definitely hers. It just wasn't mine. So the summer coming into my junior year, I want to say, of high school, my dad and I actually visited Duke's campus on my sister's birthday. Was that the nicest, most sisterly move I've ever made? No. Was it the move I made? Yes. So we visited. I had a similar experience. I talked to a few of the students. I saw the campus, absolutely fell in love with it. I knew I wanted to do engineering, and Duke's BME program was first through third nationally ranked. So yeah, that's kind of my experience. I like to say that UNC is my sister's Duke, and then she says that Duke is like my UNC. But love both schools, but Duke was the one for me.
Okay, that's also really hard to follow up on, but mine is a little more simple, I would say. I went on an in-person tour, I think maybe my junior year of high school or the summer after that. And the first thing that I really saw was one, the gorgeous campus. So that was kind of hard to turn down as, environmental science student, that sort of thing. But when I was on my tour guide just so happened to be a Singaporean student. And although there weren't a lot of people on campus because it was during summer, I really got a great sense of what the community was going to be like at Duke. And one of the things I was really looking forward to, and for like a college that I was going to be at for 4 years, was the opportunity for me to both explore my own identity and also reconnect with parts of my identity that I'd lost over the years, after being away from home for a while. And that has truly lived up to this day. But the second thing I think was spoken about earlier by Kate, but it was really that spirit of collaboration rather than competition. I came from a pretty high caliber, rigorous environment or academic environment throughout my entire childhood. And I really hated that kind of competitive pressure that I would get from my peers. But it became very apparent and evident to me on that tour that Duke was not about trying to beat each other out. It was more about trying to work together so that we all get through it, because it is an academically rigorous school, but we're not trying to, slit each other's throats academically. Rather, we're trying to help each other get through it together.
All right, awesome. So I hope that summed it up. Sorry we went a few minutes over, but we really hope that this was helpful for all of you looking at colleges. Hopefully this gave you a great insight into what it's like to be a Duke student. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We're going to say bye from Durham, but thank you all so much. Bye. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. I was trying to buzzer beater questions in the chat, Catherine, and I couldn't do it.
Bye, everyone.